Hey everyone, BJ McDowell here. Today I'm going to give you my 1-year review of my 2019 Ford F-150 Raptor. It was exactly 1 year ago today, June 23rd, 2020, that I purchased my Raptor new from the Ford dealership in Richmond, Virginia. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, good luck, and I'm 100% satisfied with this truck, except for those creaks and rattles from the sunroof. But I don't really think there's a fix for that, and if there was, I'd be really hesitant to get that fixed. I don't like people touching my vehicles. So with that said, hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll definitely try to cut some of this out. Believe it or not, this is like the fourth go at this. Yeah. But anyways, if you have any questions, comments, things you'd like to add, please, by all means, put it down there in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching. And until next time, stay safe and take care. The hood can be off from a little bit to the left or right, misalignments. That can include the fenders and so on and so on. So for the paint, I haven't found any trash or debris in the paint. Haven't found any places on the paint where it would require paint correction. I do have the half front coverage with the Expel clear film, and I also did a 2-step ceramic coating on the paint and some of the other exterior pieces, excluding the black plastic pieces and the obvious other things that you wouldn't put ceramic coating on. As for the graphics, haven't had any peeling, flaking, discoloring, no issues of any kind on both the hood and the bedside graphics. Still as good as new. Haven't had any issues when washing or drying the truck and snagging anything like this, although I do take, kind of an extra precautionary measure and just don't go this way with the wash mitt to prevent that from happening. But again, fit and finish. Tailgate lines up nice on both sides. No issues with closing that or releasing it with the remote or the power button. You can see there the seams on the doors, nice and clean. They're also flush with the side of the truck, so they close nicely. Also open easily. See there, the fender meets the door, nice and clean. Then onto the hood and the fender. Everything just fits nice and tight, as you would hope and expect it to. And over here, nice and even, like on the other side. As far as the mechanical function, I haven't had any issues. No warning lights, no check engine lights. Haven't had any types of warranty work or service required. The transmission is very smooth in normal mode with the 10-speed. It's always in the right gear. It's not hunting for gears. So the transmission works very, very nicely. It's not an issue. It's actually a joy. In sport mode, it does change and shift a little bit more aggressively, to say the least. It's definitely a difference. When you first get your truck, as example. The transmission has a learning timeline. It essentially learns your driving style. So if you drive aggressively, it will store that in the computer's history and kind of predict the shift patterns that will be demanded from the driver. So depending on how you drive, the truck will again store that as part of its history to help predict what gear it ought to be in next or how to accelerate. And you'll notice that more in sport mode, depending upon how you drive. And after so long, for example, if you're driving on the highway, just kind of cruising along and then get onto a secondary road, it will take a couple of up and down shifts to readjust to those driving characteristics that are required. But anyways, moving on. No noises, no squeaks, no rattles, no vibrations under any speeds or conditions. The truck drives smooth after 22,000 miles. The alignment is still as it was the day I picked it up. There's no issues with the tires or balancing. It's as good as new. And as far as wear on the tires are concerned, there's no uneven wear. There's no concerns as far as that goes. I rotate the tires every 5,000 miles, which equates to 50% oil life that you can read inside on the gauge cluster. With proper rotation and tire pressure, it looks like you should expect to get about 40,000 miles of good tread life out of this tire. So the BFG KO2s are good tires. On the highway, you don't really hear any noise, any vibrations. It's a good all-around tire. Does well in the rain. Does good in the snow. Took the truck off-road onto the beach in North Carolina within the first 500 miles that I had it. It does really well. Didn't even air down the tires. So it's definitely good in all types of terrain. I know there's been some controversy I've seen online. That's how you lock it, and that's how you unlock it. Not really sure where the confusion comes from. It's really just that easy, and it's very handy. No pun intended. Rear door, obviously there's no touchless or keyless entry mechanisms on the rear door handles. I know some people have complained about that as well. It's not really a big deal. I mean, if you got something in your hands and you want to throw it in the back, you go like this, and there you go. And since we're back here, just give you a view of the back seat. At times I can be carrying 1 to 3 kids under the age of 12 back here. You can see the wear on the seats are non-existent after 22,000 miles. For the interior, I do use 303, which has an SPF block of 40, so it helps protect against sun. Put that on the plastics and any portions of the seat that aren't leather. Usually leather seats are only leather on the parts that you actually sit on or touch, which will be this back section and down here. For these 2 sections or areas of the seat, I use Lexol cleaner and conditioner. Helps keep the material, the leather, moisturized to help prevent any cracking and drying over time. So keeps things fresh. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, there's really no wear. 802A package with the Raptor technology package. You got the rear heated seats in the back, heated and cooled front seats. Got the panoramic sunroof. That's hard to see. Got the shade closed. Usually do have the shade closed. If I had to make one complaint, it would be about the sunroof. It does creak and rattle, and with the sunshade open, it creaks and rattles even more. I guess the shade actually keeps applies a little bit of pressure to help reduce that creaking and rattling, and it differs with temperature and of course the type of terrain that you're driving over, but it's not excessive. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it could be better. But it is nice to have that, and on occasion slide the shade back, maybe even open up the glass. I've done it a few times now. Open up the glass and just cruising. As far as the buttons throughout the truck, I mean, they feel just as good as they did when they were new. The lighting that you see here is throughout the truck. Obviously up here, under the dash, driver's side and passenger. There's even lighting up under here somewhere. Can't necessarily see it right now. But also in the rear, by the door handles and under the driver's seats, there's lighting. And again, the interior on these trucks, they hold up very well. I do take care of it. Most maintenance interior-wise is just simply vacuum and use a wet cloth to just wipe the dash, steering wheel, and, that kind of stuff. Just wipe it off. But you could see very little. When I say very little, it's really just no wear that is visible. Seats are obviously very comfortable. No complaints there. Moving on to the driver's side. Steering wheel, it's just like new. Again, I just wipe it with a wet cloth. It's very nice steering wheel, a little thicker than your normal F-150. You got your magnesium paddle shifters. Got the lane keeping assist button right there. I've used this once by accident last week. I was starting to think that my struts were going bad or something, because as I was getting on and off the highway, I was kind of hugging right on the edge of the lane, and it was giving me a kind of vibrating sensation, and I knew that I wasn't on the rumble strip right there. So it was, for about 10 miles, I thought, man, something's not right. But then I realized up on the centered information's screen there in the dash that there was some green lines that I'd never seen before. And I realized that when I cleaned my windshield last week, I had the truck running just to keep it cool in here, and I wiped off this area and pushed that button. There's just really no wear visible on the seats, or anywhere for that matter. After applying that 303 to most every surface area on the interior, except for the actual leather part of the seat. So for most vehicles, this is the only part that's leather. This and then the back section. Everything else is typically some sort of synthetic or not genuine leather. So when I apply that 303, and I put it here and here and here, and down the silver stripe here, but for this section and that down here, it's a leather cleaner and conditioner, and it just helps keeps the seat moist and prevent it from drying, cracking, or getting those creases and things that you would expect to get in a leather seat over time. Here I've got the sticker. Here's the official window sticker for this vehicle. So there we go. It's got the 802A package. We've got the Raptor technology package. And with that, we also have the lane keeping assist. You can see the button right here. You also have the adaptive cruise control, as well as the collision avoidance. Carbon fiber is a nice touch. I did not have carbon fiber on my 2017, so it was something that I was really looking forward to. This is the only part of the truck, as far as covered in carbon fiber, that you actually touch on a regular basis, and it's just a nice experience. It's a solid material versus leather wrapped, and you can see over the course of 1 year there's no signs of wear, and I typically rest my hand on that most of the time that I'm driving, which has been over 22,000 miles now. Just to give you guys a quick view of the gauges. So that's one of the gauges that I keep up there, and I like the vacuum boost, even though I do have that turbo gauge on the top right as a default. That vacuum boost gauge allows me to just keep tabs on whether the truck has got full vacuum and we're not leaking any pressure. So anything 18 to 20 is good. Moving on down here, we've got tire pressure with the outside temperature currently at 88 degrees. These aren't really considered cold pressures because we've been sitting outside, but that's where those are. Move on over here, we got our continuous fuel consumption over the course of 30 minutes. So we're at 18.5 miles per gallon. And here's our continuous. So this is a constant read. And up here on the Trip 2, I don't ever reset this. I just let it reset itself every 9,999 miles. So the 17.2 miles per gallon is my average, all-time average. And then just moving on up here, you can see that I'm averaging 18.5 over the past 192 miles. Those 192 miles are a combination of highway and back roads, so the speed was anywhere from 35 miles per hour up to 80 miles per hour. So you can see that the truck does get good fuel mileage as advertised on the sticker there. If you want to go ahead and check your oil life, do that right here. See, we're at 51%. I do have a scheduled maintenance for this Friday, so it's just 2 days away. So it'll probably put me at right about 49% when I arrive. Since I'm over 20,000 miles, it's going to be a standard oil change, tire rotation. Check the rear fluid as well as the transmission, top off as needed, and I believe it's also time to replace the in-cabin filter as well as the filter in the engine bay, the intake. As far as comfort inside, you really can't ask for a more comfortable interior. I spend a good amount of time in here just driving back and forth to Richmond to pick up my daughter, and not only is it comfortable, it's capable. You have the power to accelerate. It's nice to have the paddle shifters to use engine braking if you're on like a windy road and aren't looking to ride the brakes as much. Cruise control, it's really simple to use. I mean, you just hit the on button, and then you set the speed right here. So you literally hit that, and then just hit that at whatever speed you're currently going, and you can make adjustments accordingly. Here's where you have your adaptive cruise control. So this will control the distance from the vehicle in front of you. And So let's say you set it for the closest allowable distance. Let's say that's 30 feet. So once you close in and come within 30 feet of the vehicle in front of you, the truck will slow down. Once that vehicle moves past that 30 feet range, the truck will then speed up accordingly and maintain that distance. And in the reverse, you can, adjust in the other direction to be further than 30 feet with this button. And this is obviously how you navigate the information center there. And then over here we got your audio controls. Again, very easy to use. Down here is your steering wheel control. So you just push that to change from comfort, normal, or sport. And then we've got our plus and minus here for the different driving modes. So if we hit the minus button, it's going to take us to the left into sport mode. And we're now in sport mode, and we can just hit the plus button and go back to normal mode. So very easy to use. Just have to be mindful of these buttons all together. This is your mute button for your radio, and answering and disconnecting your phone from a phone call. Radio's nice, Bang & Olufsen. It's a stock radio, so it's got good bass, it's got good treble, it's got decent mid-range. It only goes so loud. If you're looking to cause a nosebleed, then yeah, of course you're probably going to have to replace some speakers, change this whole unit out, and add whatever it is you need to make you happy in that arena. But overall, it's a good stereo. I don't see much of a difference between this and the Sony that was in the previous 17 and 18 Gen 2. One thing that I think doesn't get much attention that all of us Raptor owners can attest to are these step rails. They're really nice. They not only look nice, and not only do they function to help protect from rocks kicking up and hitting the side or underbody of the truck, but they're just really nice for steps. You obviously use them. I suppose if you were a very tall person, you could step over them into the truck, but considering the truck sits a little bit higher than your average F-150, they just make getting in and out of the truck extremely convenient, very easy, and I mean, it's just that simple. They're really nice. You got the step, you got the handle, and you can just reach up here like so, throw a foot here. It's just a non-event. I mean, it's really just that easy every time. So overall, 1 year ownership of this 2019 Raptor. I can't say one bad thing about the truck. It drives just as it's supposed to. I've never had a problem. It never gets old. When I've got to go drive to Richmond, which is 90 miles one way, I look forward to it every time. And of course, because I'm going to see my daughter. But besides that, the truck makes the drive enjoyable. It's got the power, the acceleration. For a truck this size, it handles well, and it's comfortable. I mean, you just can't really get any more comfortable of a vehicle. And on top of that, it's safe. You've got the capabilities to go off-road if you have to. And in emergency situations, you can most certainly just swerve off the road and deal with that. It's got different drive modes. and the suspension to go along with it. I mean, there's really no other vehicle on the market besides that other truck, but I don't even think that's comparable, really. I mean, it is, but it isn't. If anything, it only tries to compare it to the Raptor. So, um, but all good things. Infotainment center, it works well. Navigation, it works very well. Apple CarPlay, you just take your phone, um, plug it in, and you know, you can get text messages, notifications up there on the screen. You can just touch on that, and the text message will be read to you audibly. What else? You know, taking phone calls, things like that. I mean, those are all normal things that most vehicles have these days. But it all works very well. You know, there's maybe a handful of times where the system will freeze up, and it basically needs to take a moment and regroup. You know, like a reset, and that's happened. And it's happened in the other trucks that I've had. But overall, it works very well. Um, in the beginning, when I first got this truck, it was a little bit of an adjustment as far as the live valve shocks, just being a little bit more firm than the previous shocks that the Gen 2s had. So I was a little bit getting used to it, and I really wasn't sure whether I liked them or if I didn't like them. But after going to the Ford Performance driving school, driving the Raptors out, you know, in the terrain, up on the hills, out in the desert, it really was an eye-opener to me that these shocks really are capable off-road as well as on-road, and that's what that live valve really allows for, is to have both, kind of like the best of both worlds, um, without, you know, sacrificing one for the other. And that's kind of like how the previous shocks were. You know, they were really good off-road, but you had to give up a little bit of that on-road performance to get that off-road capability. So these seem like they blend those two together very well. I added a bed liner, spray and bed liner from Line-X. Nicely done. Not one issue with that. No peeling. Um, all good things. You know, haven't had any interior light bulbs go out. Haven't had any issues with the exterior lights. Everything really has been perfect. And you know, if I didn't know how many miles were on my truck, I wouldn't know that you know, it was used. You know, it feels the same. Um, it looks the same. It drives the same. To me, it's really just the same. I did go ahead and get the extended warranty at the time that I purchased the truck, and that's good for 6 years or 100,000 miles. Oh, so one of the things that I've never had before until I got this truck was auto high beams and auto windshield wipers. I always thought, well, you know, those are luxury items. I don't need them. Well, who would need that? They're awesome. If you have the opportunity or the choice to get them, just get them. Um, it's nice. It's a really nice feature. The high beams, I've spent, you know, years and over 20 years driving, and I would not use my high beams just because, uh, you know, just because I had to flip the switch. And now that I have auto high beams, I use them all the time because I don't have to do anything. It's automatic. The windshield wipers, when it rains, I mean, they just come on. They're automatic. And I know that most vehicles have this option nowadays, but it's really a cool feature. And being the first time I've had it on a vehicle, it's cool. it's nice to have, you know. My thing was always, well, what if it breaks? Or, you know, I'm a driver. I don't need that. I can do it myself. If you got the option and you've got the ability to do it, I'd go for it. Um, no complaints with that. Now, there are random occasions where the wipers will just come on for no reason that I'm aware of. Now, they must pick up maybe something that triggers them to go off, but or turn on. Uh, but it's not a big deal. You know, it's once every 2 months they might come on by themselves for no reason that I'm aware of. As a daily driver, the truck is easy to drive. Like I said, it never gets old. You never get bored with it. It's not a chore. It's not hard to park. You know, if you have to park in a parking spot, it's easier just to back in. But it's not like difficult. Yeah, it's 6 or 7 inches wider than your normal F-150, but that's at the front and the rear. That doesn't really make it any harder to park. Just makes it a tighter fit, you know, on the front and back side. But as far as getting out of the truck, it's the same cab that a normal F-150 is built on. So there's no difference in the width of the cab. So getting out, parked beside another vehicle, doesn't pose any extra issue. Although I try not to park beside other vehicles or in between them, just for the fact that the front and rear ends are wider and people would be more likely to maybe brush up against it or miscalculate the width of the truck and potentially, you know, drive into it or whatever it may be. So those are things to keep in mind. But no leaks from the sunroof, no leaks from the door seals, no leaks from the engine bay firewall, no leaks at all. And my average miles per gallon is 18.5. And that's, you know, something I reset every time I fill up. Typically get about 580 miles per tank, and that's a 36-gallon tank. My overall all-time miles per gallon is 17.2. So the miles per gallon are what Ford says you're going to get, if not better. When I take a highway trip that doesn't involve, you know, steep grades, I seem to get about 19.5 to 20 miles per gallon. And that's on premium 93 octane. So overall, I mean, it is as advertised. I've had nothing but good luck, and I'm 100% satisfied with this truck, except for those creaks and rattles from the sunroof. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and take care.